Today's interview is going to be special. It's with our founder, Susie Dahlmann, and my friend. And today you're going to learn about Susie's inspirational story and a challenging life story. One that has birthed Reaching Higher, which has reached over 10,000 students over the past 25 years. So let's dig in. Susie, how are you today?
I'm blessed to be here with you, Troy, and just tell my story to Reaching Higher.
Well, thank you for who you are and your willingness to share your story with myself again and everyone else. So thank you.
Thanks, it's a privilege.
So Susie, tell us about a car accident, because Reaching Higher was really birthed through tragedy back in 1980, and you were a second grade school teacher and its impact on you.
One of the most beautiful parts of my life, Troy, was to be a second grade school teacher. And I did that for 25 years, and there wasn't a day that I didn't wake up and jump out of bed because I got to be with my second graders. It was the most beautiful thing in my life. And one day, I was driving to school, and a semi-truck pulled out in front of my car, and I didn't have my seatbelt on, and it sent me through the windshield of the car, and my head hit the rearview mirror, and so I was in a coma for 9 hours, and while I was in that coma, I felt like I went up a dark tunnel, and I felt a hand push me back down, and when I woke up, the first thing I heard was the doctor standing over me saying, "She's severely brain damaged."
So how did you recover from that?
You know, Troy, it was humbling. And when I went home after the accident, you know, I really didn't have a lot of direction on how to heal. But I wanted to get as strong as I could so that I can get back with my second graders, because it meant the world to me. So I started to run. I never had been a runner. I started to run because, you know, the oxygen really helped me not to be dizzy. I started to eat really well. And I took the best care of myself I could, and I started to do something that was life-transforming. I started to meditate, to spend those quiet moments, because I would lose my vision. You know, I didn't know, I didn't know people. If I saw people, I didn't know who they were or what part of my life they were from. So it was about a month before I went back to be with my second graders. And when I went back, it was scary because, you know, I wasn't the same. And when I went back, one of the little girls asked me how to spell because. And I realized I had forgotten how to spell because. And a little boy asked me how to tie his shoes, and I remember my hands fumbled, and I thought, you know, I don't even remember how to tie a shoe. I was scared to death because I thought, if anybody finds out how dumb I am, I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to be able to be with my second graders anymore. So it was humbling. Every day I got up filled with fear, and I was living in my life through fear. And I wasn't being authentic because I was scared to death.
Yeah. So when you woke up and that doctor was over you and you could hear him, that seeded a limiting belief.
Yeah, I always thought that I was, you know, I felt like I was stupid, that I was dumb, and that I couldn't do things. So I would, you know, I prayed, you pray daily, but I prayed minutely during that time, because I was afraid all the time. But, you know, I got through it.
Yeah. So as you were praying through that, and later you were on a walk and you met some neighbors, and they suggested that you take a Dale Carnegie course. So walk us through that.
Yeah, you know, Troy, one part of also, coming back from the injury was that in my meditation, I wanted to just mention this, in my meditation, I got that I could live from my heart and not my head.
Yeah.
Because my head was, not really, and I couldn't. And so I started living from my heart. And every day before I went to school, it helped me not to be so scared. I would write love on my hand. And you know what? That year, I got Teacher of the Year.
Wow.
Which was amazing, right? Mm-hmm. Because my whole intention was just to love those kids as much as I can, do the very best I could. Took my attention off myself. So, yeah, I was walking one day, and a friend of mine, said, I just graduated from this amazing class. I said, what was it? She said, the Dale Carnegie course. She said, it was amazing. I got so much confidence in myself. And she said, why don't you take it? Maybe it will help you. And so I did. I enrolled in the Dale Carnegie class, and my teacher fell in love with me. Her name was Laura, and she called me Sunshine. And it was public speaking. It really took me out of my comfort zone, and I won the highest award for achievement in that class, which was an honor. Wow. And so I gained a lot of confidence and started to believe in myself again.
So how did that class impact you as a person and as a teacher?
After that class, I wanted to help others. I wanted to help other people that were trapped in fear and had anxiety and depression. I wanted to make a difference in other people like Dale Carnegie had made in my life. So I actually went to a training one night. I found out about a Dale Carnegie training. Yeah. And it was for the instructors, just to see if you could be an instructor. So I went, and the most amazing thing happened. I ended up seeing one of my second graders at that training.
One of your second graders that you had taught.
Judy Lubowicki. Yeah, I walked in, I go, Judy, what are you doing here? And, I drove home, and I thought, wow, if my second grader could do this, I can do this. Yeah. I can do this. And,
I know that was quite a challenge. So share with the audience what that was like to go and become a Dale Carnegie instructor in regards to the competition, how many people, and also just in regards to, because the accident really, it was your memory that was significantly impacted. So expand on that a little bit.
So what happened is I found out that there was 60 teachers trying out for 4 positions to become Dale Carnegie instructors. And there was 100 principles, the human relation principles that we had to memorize. Mm-hmm. And you had to know them forward and backwards for the training. And so, you know what? I was so passionate about making a difference in others and having others have the opportunity that I had had. I actually started a Dale Carnegie class in my neighborhood, and for teens. My dear friend Diane Shumansky, she was starting a class, and I said, let me join you in that. I did have a passion for kids. Mm-hmm. And we had over 60 parents call us, but they didn't have enough money for it. And I thought, wow, there's a huge need. There's a huge need for this. So anyway, I studied really hard, and I ended up coming in second in the memory contest, and I had the opportunity and the blessing to become a Dale Carnegie instructor.
Wow.
Taught for 15 years.
Amazing story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, when all those parents, I started the class in my neighborhood, and when all those parents didn't have enough money for their kids, I thought, wow, there's a real hole in a world where kids really need this. Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know what? I decided, I wanted to do something to help. And I didn't really know what it was, but I was meditating on it. Yeah. And there was something coming through me. I wasn't really sure what it was.
So after that, you continued to teach as a second grader, and you continued to teach Dale Carnegie.
I did both.
In corporate America.
Mm-hmm. I taught part-time. I job shared with another friend of mine, and I taught Carnegie. So I taught during the day, and I taught Carnegie at night. Yeah, and so that was really great. And I did a Carnegie class again in my neighborhood, and the parents called, and so I knew that again there was a huge need, and that more people needed it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, every child deserves to feel good about themselves. Mm. And so I went up to upstate New York for a week where my meditation teacher had a cabin in the middle of the woods, and there was nothing there. And I was laying on the beach one day, and I laid back, and a hand went up into heaven, and it said, higher, reaching higher, bring God's love to the children.
Mm. And this was what was tugging at your heart when you became a Dale Carnegie instructor. You continued to teach school for 20 years. And so this was in 1997, is that right, when you took this sabbatical?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And my understanding is you did a class, but talk through that journey of creating that class, because I think there was a newspaper article and you had to, you found out that, what did you discover? Because my understanding is parents called you pleading for you to offer this course but couldn't afford it?
Yeah. So the articles that came out in the newspaper about what I was doing, and so I had the parents call, and so I decided that I was going to create an angel fund for teens and help the parents with the sponsorships to get into the class. And I had a class there at West Acres where I lived in West Bloomfield, and it was life-changing for those kids. And it made me realize what a huge need there was, and that there wasn't anything out there for the hearts of the children. That, all these children that couldn't afford it deserve the opportunity to be loved, be seen, and be heard.
So share with the audience, later in 1997, what happened? There was a birthday.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I turned 50. Now I remember. Okay. Yeah, I turned 50, and at my surprise birthday party, my kids flew in from out of town, and we all jumped in the car, and my husband had planned this. We all jumped in the car, and I thought we were going to a yoga retreat because I love yoga.
Yeah.
So we were going all in the car with our suitcases, and the only suitcase that had anything in it was mine. Everybody else's was empty. So we drove out of the subdivision, and my husband goes, "Oh, man, I forgot my wallet." I go, "Oh, he always forgets his wallet." And so we drove back in, and we went to the entrance of our beach and clubhouse there in West Acres, where I had taught the first Carnegie class. Mm-hmm. And there was probably 150 people, 200 people that were all there to celebrate my first 50th birthday party. And for that party, we raised the $3,000, and that was the first $3,000 that we had to start reaching higher.
And that birthed Reaching Higher.
Yep.
Amazing story. Yeah. Amazing story.
God bless my husband. He sent the invitations out and the Christmas cards.
Yeah.
And my birthday was in July, so he was working on it for a long time.
Powerful. Mm-hmm. And actually, leading up to this, you actually had traveled the world with Deepak Chopra, and you started Reaching Higher with a dear friend that invited you into that, Linda Hannaford. Share with the audience a little bit about that. What was it like to travel with Deepak, and what did you learn?
Yeah, it was a privilege. Well, Linda was in my Carnegie class, and I met her there, and we became really good friends. She was a primordial sound meditation teacher through Deepak's organization. And so she asked me to go on many of the retreats. We went, to Beaver Creek, Colorado. We went all over the United States. But then she asked me to go to India. Wow. So we went to India for a whole month, traveled with Deepak, and we just assisted him. And, it was on the airplane coming back that I said to her, Linda, I see 2 seats in front of the classroom. And I turned to her on the airplane. I said, "Would you ever consider teaching this with me?" And she said, "Yes."
Really?
Yeah. And so that's how we started to birth Reaching Higher, the two of us. I was, I had the background with training and teaching, and she was more of an administrator. So we were a great team, and we started out doing adults. Our first adult class was in Sylvan Lake.
Talk to us about those early years of Reaching Higher. You started out actually serving adults.
Yeah, we used the $3,000 and we got a little loft on Hope Street. That's what we needed, a lot of hope, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Perfect.
yeah, we had our first class there, and then we had a class in Cranbrook for adults. I did a class down at Church of Today for adults, and there was a couple kids in that class. And in that class that I did down in Detroit, there was a school teacher from a school in Detroit, and she goes, "You should bring this to my kids."
Mm.
And I said, "Wow, I'd love to." So for 10 years, really, we did, we did adults, but then it started, we decided that we needed to make a choice whether we were going to do adults and kids. And Linda's choice was adults.
Mm-hmm.
She loved adults.
Yeah.
And I love kids. But also, she had had a mouth cancer.
Mm.
And she had to drop off. She had to stop teaching because she wasn't able to talk. And I said, don't worry, Linda, I can talk for you.
Yeah.
And she said, we're not making any money.
Mm-hmm.
She was getting sicker, and she said, I'm going to quit. And I think you should too.
Mm. So another positive life choice, a life choice that you had to reflect on. You had to make another decision at that point.
Yeah. It's funny how you look back at it and you see how God's hand was in all of it.
Yeah.
Because I went home that night, I was devastated because she was my best friend.
Mm.
And I sat next to my bed and I thought, I felt like I should continue because it was a calling on my life. It wasn't, something I chose.
Yeah.
And so I next to my bed was Norman Vincent Peale's book, The Power of Positive Thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I just picked that book up because I did every night and just would open it randomly, right? And I randomly opened it, and it was a story about a man who had lost his partner, corporate partner, and he made God his partner.
Wow.
So I decided, you know what? I'm going to make God my partner. And so Linda and I were still friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I made God my partner, and actually, right after that, I did the Emmaus walk, the walk to Emmaus, that really helped to strengthen my faith. And I did it on a weekend, and I came back to the office on Monday, and the phone rang, and it was Illich Charity for Children, and they were giving me 100 tickets to the Christmas Spectacular in Detroit.
Okay.
I got to take 100 inner city kids
Wow.
to a play. Yeah, it was powerful, and I knew, you know what, it's okay. I got hope we can take one more step forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So you started really focusing on kids and serving kids because you kind of had to, and obviously Reaching Higher is a nonprofit, so you had a board, and you kind of had to channel it after Linda moved on.
Mm-hmm.
So going through that, I know the other challenging piece of your story was your daughter, Jenny, and getting cancer. So would you be willing to share a little bit about those times and that journey?
Yeah, that was not too long after Linda had dropped off. I had a traditional thing that I did for my family every year. I would make applesauce. So I'd make a lot of jars of applesauce. I felt really domestic. So, being in the kitchen all day and making that, I could hand it, give it to my family. So I was home making applesauce, and the phone rang, and it was my oldest daughter, Jenny, and she had just had a baby 6 weeks before, my little granddaughter said. And she went in for a 6-week checkup, and they saw a cyst, a tumor, actually, and it was called urachal carcinoma in the urachal tube. It's 1 in 15 million.
Wow.
And usually only in men over 65. So, they say, those moments in your life, that moment changed my whole life.
Yeah.
I dropped the phone, and, I flew out the next day to New York, and I didn't come back for a whole year. And so, she was really sick for a year, and then she had a 3-year remission.
Okay.
And then she passed away in 2004. And at that time, we were only doing like 1 or 2 Reaching Higher classes a year.
Yeah.
And I worked with my friend when I was with Jenny, and we were writing actually the instructor's manual together at that time. But, you know, Jenny was the love of my life. She worked at the Gap in New York.
Yeah.
She had 2 little kids, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And when she died, I died.
Yeah.
You know, I was sick, you know, from just being with her in the hospital for so long and watching her, you know. And so when I came back, I was in bad shape.
Mm. Yeah.
And I couldn't get out of bed really much.
So during that time, somehow you were also inspired by her. She wrote a book. You want to share a little bit about the book that she wrote and maybe how that inspired you?
Yeah, she wrote when she was sick. You know, I talked to her every day, and she said, "Mom," this is when she was just going through her chemo, and I'd say, "Jen, what are you doing?" She said, "Mom, I'm writing a book." I said, "Jen, you've never written a book before. What do you mean?" She goes, "Mom, I'm writing a book. I can do this. I can have chemo and then come to Starbucks here and just sit and write." And she wrote a little book called Butterfly Hill. It was about going over the hills in Yorktown Heights.
Yeah.
And my little grandson getting butterflies in his tummy. And then when we have fear, we get butterflies in our tummy.
We do.
You know, so when she passed, behind the couch, there was a table, and there were the notes to her book on that table. And actually, a good friend of hers picked up the notes, and she just made a tabletop book with it. And actually, my husband and my other daughter Kim, and Jenny were best friends.
Yeah.
So my husband, it was really him, and his intention to publish the book. All of us had that intention, and Kim, that made the book come alive, and it was published. And you know, we have 4,000 copies, and now we only have I think 1,000 left in our basement. But it's been a book that won the Mother's Choice Award. So
Wow.
yeah, we're really grateful. We know that everybody that sits with Butterfly Hill in their lap, that Jenny's being her legacy goes on. And we use all the money from the book to have art scholarships at our high school at Walled Lake Central High School.
Yeah. Well, Susie, it doesn't surprise me. You are such a loving person. You care more about kids and more about youth than anyone I know. It doesn't surprise me that when Jenny was sick, that she chose to write a book for kids, for others, instead of thinking about herself, because that's who you are.
Yeah.
And that's what you do constantly.
Oh, thanks, Troy. It was her dream, you know. We wanted to have her dream come alive. So when we see people that just enjoy the book, I mean, they're carrying it downtown. And actually, our publisher went out of business right after we published it. So we've been looking for another publishing company. But, you know, the great thing is it has touched many lives. Yeah. And her legacy lives on. And I felt like after she passed away, the only thing that got me up out of bed was to think about the kids in the Reaching Higher class. You know, I went downtown and joined one of the classes we had down there that one of my instructors was teaching. And it was the only thing that gave my life purpose. It was the only place when I was in that class I forgot about me, and I forgot about my life. And Reaching Higher has been that gift to me all these years. It's been 17 years this year since Jenny passed away.
Amazing. So during that time, what I'm hearing is a resolve and passion that somehow you would take that tragedy and turn it into that. And Reaching Higher grew a lot during that time. It started going and really partnering with all the public schools and in the Detroit metropolitan area here, and going into the classroom and partnering with them and strengthening youth. And, you know, for approximately 15 years.
Yeah, it's powerful to see the change in the kids in the classroom. And, you know, to see the smiles on their face and the way they awaken and the way they walk out with confidence and purpose, and they know that they matter.
Mm.
It's magical. And I just took all the methodology that I knew from my past and put it into Reaching Higher. But really, Reaching Higher has been a gift to me because it became my family.
Yeah.
Because we were all so broken.
Yeah. So then fast forward those 15 years, 2019, COVID, COVID-19, and another challenge. And what do we do? Another positive life choice that you have to make. And you were transitioned out of the director role and were basically serving as a founder and teacher in Reaching Higher. So how did you feel when it all stopped? Because we couldn't get into, Reaching Higher couldn't get into schools. They were shut down. Walk us through that time.
At the time when it hit, we were doing 53 classes a year. So it was really, we had a great administrator, and, we were walking strong. And, she had to leave because she didn't, to get a job.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I was sitting home and I was devastated. I kept thinking, every day I was home, I don't want to wash the floor one more day or do this. I'm used to going to work every day. And I just thought, there's a greater need than there's ever been before.
Greater.
And there's no way that this can stop. And so I called one of my friends because I was devastated. And I just haven't, we were all on unemployment. And I thought, can't let this go. And I just felt like, it was God's, it wasn't mine. I just had to keep it going because the world needed it. It was the hope that all of us didn't have. So I sat down and wrote a letter to myself. I did a long meditation. I wrote a letter to myself, and it said in the letter, "Pick up the cross and walk boldly forward." So I did. I went into the office, and no one has been in the office in a long time, and the phone rang. It was phone ringing within the hour that I walked in there, and I thought, okay. So a mother called me, and she said, "Is this Reaching Higher?" And I said, "Yes." She says, "I'm in the middle of the lake up north, and I didn't know who to call." She said, "Both of my kids took Reaching Higher at South Lyon High School." And she said, "The only thing I could think about is calling you." She said, "My best friend, her son just committed suicide."
Tragic.
I was just devastated. And we spent like an hour on the phone. I talked about Jenny's death, and we shared, and, she said, "I want to help." I said, "Come join us. We need help more than ever now." And so, we decided that, Susan Dooley was a dear friend on the board and a Dale Carnegie instructor. And I said, "Susan, we can't let this go down." And she said, she works at BASF as a corporate.
Yeah.
And she said, I know some people that might be able to help us. And so we had, 10 men meet for 2 hours once a week for 6 months, and we came up with a new business plan. And you know what? It's been absolutely amazing to see it rise back up, just because of the huge need.
Yeah. So now as we sit here today and we talk about Reaching Higher's vision, and it's to impact the world and impact our future and go back to where it started from, reaching everyone to serve adults, but for the cause so we can reach more youth. So tell us about that. Now we're sitting here in 2022 and we're coming up to 25 years. How does that make you feel today, and what do you see in Reaching Higher's future now?
I am like in awe. They say in the midst of our greatest devastation can come opportunity. Where Reaching Higher is now, to be led by these amazing businessmen and integral people. The team is actually just, I could never imagine it being this great. And the vision that, at night when I would go to bed, I would have, I'd always have a vision. I was always looking at reaching higher at night. My last thoughts were, just this amazing light spreading around the world. It was like pixie dust on people that it would make them happy. When I was little, I used to dream that too. When I was little,
Love it.
And so I always, I always thought it would go. But now, Troy, if I passed away today, I would be so blessed. So blessed about the opportunity that I had to serve and to be chosen, and the hands that it's in now. That it has the vision of doing, all the 10,000 graduates reaching higher for life, where we have other classes where they can come back and still get fed in the different stages of their life and still be part of reaching higher, which many of them are doing now. And to see that the possibility of world ministry now we're doing it with the Zoom. We're training teachers now out of state.
Out of state.
It's starting to spread because of the foundation of amazing integrity and just powerful hope. I mean, people walk out of our class with the 8 pillars to success. That they can create a life that they always dreamed of having, even if they never believed in themselves. Yeah. It's just, I feel so lucky. I mean, every day I tell people, I said, you know what? If I leave the planet tomorrow, I am like just so touched at the power of the integrity and the power of the amazing people that are carrying it forward. I am proud and blessed.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't happen without you sacrificing 25 years and pouring this kind of foundation that will allow Reaching Higher and will propel Reaching Higher to reach its vision of impacting the world and impacting its future, and its dedication to serving youth and really reaching everyone. And, you kind of talked about that baton and passing that legacy on. So, we're approaching, and I will share it, that we're going to honor you. We're going to honor Reaching Higher. And 25 years and impacting 10,000 lives.
I know.
Amazing.
I know, it's so amazing.
And it wouldn't have happened if you didn't say yes, if you didn't respond, and you didn't step forward and actually use your tragedy to help and serve others. And that's who you are. You are such a beautiful person, and a mentor, and willing to do that. So that I'm inspired by you, Susie. So this is your opportunity to share. What would you like to share with your listeners now as we approach these 25 years to celebrate these 10,000 students and also share our future? What would you like to share to our audience?
For them to come and join us in this, that Reaching Higher is something that we all want for our children. We all want them to have everything they can to walk into the world that they have to face today. All of us are sitting in a world that we can never imagine it's the things that are going on in this world. I could never imagine that a child would be shot in a school, and that the things in the world that are so evil. But this is something that is love. It's God's love. And, it's something that can make a huge difference in any age.
Yeah.
We do 5th graders. You could do it in a nursing home, and all the way up to corporate and to, adults. So,
and
are
doing it now.
We are, absolutely. So, inside we're all the same age. Everyone deserves to be loved. Everyone deserves to have an opportunity to come into their power. And that's what they do. One of our taglines is discover the power in you.
Yeah.
But they transform their lives. I just read a letter from a little 5th grader, and he said, in Reaching Higher, a rainbow came out. And he said, I had hope. What better is there to do? And you know what? To join something that's so integral and it's making such a huge difference. It's so needed. You know, we want the whole world to know about this.
Yes.
So, you know, I would hope that people would come down and join us for the 25-year anniversary, because it's about what we can do moving forward together. It's about the difference we can make together in a world that desperately needs us.
It's never been needed more. It's never been needed more. And I want to thank you because of your resilience to not let this die, for it to continue, and to have the courage to ask for help. We sit here today with a very bright future. And I just want to say thank you for being my mentor and my coach, and inviting me into the Reaching Higher story and your story, Susie.
Such a privilege to have you work by my side, to be by your side, Troy. You're a great leader. You know, you have everything in your heart, you know, and many will follow you as they followed me because of who you are. So I'm proud and grateful, and I'm blessed. So thank you for the privilege.
Thank you, Susie.